I'm Everett Weber Herbert, and as per usual, we are here every Tuesday evening with something that at least we think is of community interest and or of some concern. And if you think that you have something which fits into that category, you'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program, well, why don't you drop us a line, address it to the Let's Talk program in care of Vaughan Radio, P.O. Box 195 Charlestown in Nevis, or give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. And by the way, those will be the numbers you'll use to be a part of this evening's discussion. Again, thank you all very much for joining us. This is your voice in the community, Thought That Get Results. With regard to your participation in the show, we encourage you to call in on the numbers listed 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Here's a suggestion. You got a question or a comment perhaps, you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so that when you're getting on the show, you're well organized and you take as little time as possible so that we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything we deem not within our broadcast standards. Again, thank you all for joining us. This is your voice in the community, Thought That Get Results. Tonight, Dr. Patricia Bartlett, good evening.
Good evening, Webo. Good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to the entire listening and viewing audiences. Webo, I would like to just extend some sincere greetings to my husband in England, who is staying up just to listen to us, and all the other people who are in the UK who are tuned in. I know that they listen to us week after week, and we really appreciate having them in our company. To Anne, Pam, Mr. Martin down in St. Thomas, I'd like to say good evening. To my cousins, St. McDay and St. Kitts, I hope you're doing well. And last week I did forget, and I did remind myself and chided myself last week that charity begins at home. How can I forget the good people of, who are here on the island who tune in and religiously, would give their feedback, and I must apologize. I know sometimes things get a little heated around here. I know it could be hard on the ear, so I would like to apologize tonight. And to all the people who we might have tuned out a little bit last week, and I promise that I won't go there. So thanks for being in the community. Webo, thanks for the invitation to join you. And I would imagine we will get into some discussion as it relates to International Women's Day that's coming up this week, and a little later. Again, thanks.
Edric W. Stanley, good evening.
Good evening, Webo. Good evening to your guests. Good evening to the people of St. Kitts, and more particularly our gracious people of Nevis, those who listen to us on the World Wide Web and throughout the Caribbean Basin. And of course, this is your show, and we do appreciate it immensely when you listen, but more particularly when you call in and participate and hear whatever you think your interests may be, and we can expound upon it, and thus never pull back with reference to what is going on or what was said on the show. Please call in, and if you didn't get an opportunity to get in this time, don't forget there's another time, because this show is ongoing. It's been on for 30 years, and we've got another 30 more to go. And by God's help, we will probably get another 30 more. And therefore, consider it to be your show, and let no one steals your thunder. Let me repeat that. Let no one steals your thunder. And in this regard, we must always remember our objective on this show is to disseminate information that is forthright, truthful, and thus those of you who are listening would be guided accordingly to what we have disseminated in terms of fact, truth, and the information, of course, should be well thought out even before it is dispensed to you. Webo, I have two things to put on the table this evening, and maybe I might give you a sneak preview and our listening audience.
The Honorable Spencer Brand, good evening.
Good evening, Webo, and good evening to my colleagues around the table. Let me, from the outset, Webo, apologize for the absence of Mr. Theodore Hobson. He's a little bit under the weather tonight, so he opted not to join us tonight. I want to say a very pleasant good night to him, and I hope that he would be up and about very shortly. I want to say, Weber, good evening also to those who are listening here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and those who are listening to us further afield. I know that this is a show that is widely listened to at home and abroad. I believe that we come here every Tuesday night to try and educate and give the facts as we see it to the general public on the various topics and issues that often are placed on the table. And I certainly deem it an honor and a privilege for me to be here. I want to say good night to those persons who are in our various hospitals here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, ill tonight, and I hope that with the help of the doctors and the nurses, and certainly with the divine intervention of our Creator, that they would soon be up and about. To those families who are in mourning tonight, I want to offer my sincere condolences on the loss of either a colleague, a loved one. I hope that they can remember that individual with fond memories. To those who are celebrating tonight, whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some accomplishment in their life, I want to offer them my congratulations, and I hope that they have a wonderful evening as they reflect on the achievement in their life. Webo, it is indeed a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank you so much for the invitation once again, and I'm certainly looking forward to tonight's debate.
The Honorable Spencer Brand, Edric W. Stanley, Dr. Patricia Bartlett. They're in. Your phone calls a little later on 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. And I'm going to, Dr. Bartlett, you indicated that you would like to put something on. Edric, you got a couple of things to put on, and so I'll yield. But I just wanted to mention three things. First of all, I want to wish Ted all the very best. Spencer just indicated that he's a little under the weather. I think it's one of the things that was grabbing most of us, right? And so Ted, that's how it is. It'll run its course after it has gotten you. So we wish you all the very best. I know it is, okay? So we wish you all the very best. I'm sure he's listening, so have a good evening. The second thing is, I've been campaigning real strong for the past couple of days because someone lost a purse with contents in it, but no ID. So they brought it here to the radio station, and I think it was Friday or something last week, or Thursday. And since that, we've been trying to get hold of the person, ask them to please come and collect their purse with the contents in it. Now, I also mentioned then, and I want to mention now, that whereas we're very happy to and very glad to assist, I prefer we do it this way. If you find something, we don't mind announcing it, but don't bring it here, please. Take it to the police station, right? Not being facetious or anything. The order is heaven's first law. So you find something, take it to the police station, let us know, and we'll announce it for you. So let's do that. Nevertheless, we have that purse, has contents in it, and I know that the person, whoever it is, must be really feeling sad. But we have put out a notice, we haven't gotten a response so far. However, we're making a little headway because, and that's why I like to tell these stories, because I always believe we got a great society. Very great people in our society. So a lady calls me a day ago, and she says, Mr. Herbert, this thing keeps bothering me, because I think I know who that purse belongs to, but she doesn't know the person's name. She says, I was in a particular restaurant in Charlestown, and a lady came in there, and she was very sad. She says, anybody see in the purse? All my money was in it, and I lost my purse, right? Nobody saw it at the time, so the lady left. And then when she heard me mention it, she said, gosh, that belongs to that lady. But she didn't know her name or anything and stuff like that. But she described the lady to me, is diminutive lady and very nice looking. Okay, so if you fit that description, please come and get your purse with the contents.
The whole of
Yeah.
Nevis going to come.
Yeah?
The whole of Nevis will come.
Edric, I was about to say, Edric will say, nah. Why not?
Simply because the person who knows they lost their purse will come.
Yes.
But
No.
those who know they didn't lose a purse
Yes.
should not come.
No,
Oh,
that-
but
that's
Brand,
not, that's
go
not the
ahead.
point that I was.
Yeah, make your point,
That's
Brand.
not the point that I was getting.
Make your
I
point.
think whoever said that. I think he was the word beautiful lady.
Yes.
That's why I said that Nevis have been. All of the ladies in Nevis are beautiful, so I'm expecting that all of the beautiful ladies in Nevis will show.
No.
Okay, well, let me just
These are
finish.
the-
Let me just
to come.
let me just finish up. So the other thing that the lady who called me is dead on target, because the persons who brought the purse, and let me commend them as well. It was two gentlemen who brought the purse, I understand, and the purse was found in that same vicinity where the restaurant is, but it was found on the outside, I think. So please.
Lord.
So what I'm doing in terms of my strategy, I'm asking everybody to help me, right? Now, it obviously, based on what we've learned so far, it belongs to a lady, the purse. And so I want the ladies, in terms of my technique, to say to each other, you lost your purse? You know anybody who lost your purse? And you spread that, and we must get it solved, because I really want the person to get the purse with the contents. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't care how much is in it, it must be a loss for them. You know what I'm saying? So you all please help us to see whether or not we can get that and make somebody happy.
I was sending out something because I lost a nice camera.
So why? Well, you say it.
My camera, and I tell you, it is a critical part of my daily work.
Good job, yeah.
And I left it somewhere. It's
But thought you just say you lost it.
I lost it.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
Simply because I don't have it.
Okay. But
And
but
I
you
look
said you
for it
left it someplace.
Somewhere.
But you don't know where you
I
left
don't know
it.
where I've
So
left
that's
it.
why you lost it.
It's a nice little digital camera in the black case, and I've lost it, and it is dear to me.
How long ago?
About 3 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And whoever finds it, I'll give you a little something for bringing it back. So please, if you know of anyone who might have found a little digital camera, black, I think it's a Sony, not sure of the make, but it's near and dear to me. If anyone finds it, please bring it. It's mine, Edric Stanley's.
But this is a
And I'll
light.
give you a little something.
This is a light moment, Edric. If I had the camera, somebody brought it there, and you claim it was yours, you wouldn't get it, because if you're gonna tell me you think it's a Sony,
Well,
I'm gonna
well,
suggest maybe
To
maybe
be
it's not
honest,
yours.
How many people have lost a camera?
But I just said it's a light moment.
Okay, all right, all right. You're off the hook. You're off the hook.
Okay. All right. So the third thing I wanted to mention, right, was that, you know, every now and then I like to read stuff. And so I'm going to give credit to this little magazine, because I have some Jehovah's Witness friends. Every now and then they will give me one of their little tracts or magazines, and when I get a little time I would read it. And I was reading this one that I got the other day, and I found it interesting that I'm just going to read a little section of it, that persons can think about it, because to me it hit the nail right in the head. It made a lot of sense. So the title of it was Getting to the Root of Our Problems. And it says, do you believe that mankind can solve the many problems that rob us of peace and security and threaten our future? To be effective, any cure must surely address the root causes of our troubles, not just the symptoms. To illustrate, a patient named Tom was sick and later died. Why did he die? When his first symptoms appeared, no one thought to search for their underlying cause, wrote the doctor, whose hospital received Tom shortly before he died. It seems that Tom's earlier caregivers had simply given him medication to make him feel better. Are humans taking a similar approach to the world's ills? For example, in fighting crime, governments enact laws, install video surveillance, and strengthen police forces. But these measures, while effective to some extent, do not address underlying causes. After all, behavior usually reflects attitudes, beliefs, and desires. It is a longer article than that, but I think that explains the essence of what the writer was trying to say. And I thought it was so appropriate because every day, every week, every month, and for years, we've been grappling with the section in particular about crime. And in my view, it pointed directly to the prescriptions and that we are applying, including the laws, the surveillance cameras, and you can go on and on. You didn't mention prisons and so on and so forth. So I just thought I'd mention that. Now, I'm going to take a break, and when I come back, I'll go to Dr. Bartlett. When we're finished with her issue, we go to Mr. Stanley. We're back after these. This is Thought That Get Results.
Queen City, Nevis, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, Vaughn Radio.
Builder's Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. They have got over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builder's Paradise has what you need. Oh, and remember, they are open all day Saturday to serve you better. Builder's Paradise, located at CAP Southwell Industrial Park, St. Kitts. Call them today at 466-4938.
Back in this episode of Thought That Get Results with the Honorable Spencer Brand, Edric W. Stanley, and Dr. Patricia Bartlett.
Yes, Bebo, thanks for the opportunity to speak to my people, particularly the ladies in the audience. Just to alert everyone that International Women's Day is coming up. It's not really in my place, mind you. I don't work for gender affairs. I just thought because I'm so passionate about the idea of gender equality and all that, that I should just mention it tonight. But International Women's Day is normally celebrated on the 8th of March, and the 8th of March happens to be a Friday, I think, coming up. And so I am expecting that something would be done. I don't know exactly what it would be, but like I said, I'm not here representing the gender affairs. The theme this year, as I understand it from the United Nations Women's Desk, is that the theme this year is Think Equal, Build Smart, and Innovate for Change. I know about 2 years ago, there was one that I particularly liked, and I'm always using it, and it said, be bold for change. And I'm just appealing to my women folk to be bold and think, like they said, think equal. Don't think that men are any better than you are. And I'm always appealing to the women to make sure that you come forward and, claim your rightful place in the society. And the society can only be better for it if women would participate more. I'm not seeing enough, personally, from my vantage point, I'm not seeing enough done at a governmental level as it relates to the equality that is, we're striving for. By 2030, we were supposed to have equality. It's not likely that we are going to be achieving that, and that doesn't really necessarily just, relate to us. It seems like worldwide people are scaling back on the expectations, which is not fair. I think, people really should be congregating and seeing how best they could push the agenda. I recognize that about a week or two in Antigua, CARICOM held a forum there for, to start the conversation as it relates to the empowerment of women, particularly as it relates to representation, political representation. And I'm hoping, I don't know, I have not seen what came out of that meeting. I'm hoping that that would be shared with us, and I'm hoping that the conversation would keep going. I don't think that we're speaking enough of that, and I don't think that we're doing enough of it. But I'm just appealing to all women to keep your ears and eyes open. And whatever we are called to do in commemoration of International Women's Day on Friday, I'm asking you, please participate. Well, that was, in essence, was what I really wanted to talk about tonight. I'm not going to complain about the fact that it's just still only for all the the, the countries that have been pursuing democracy for so long now. I'm not going to complain that still only about 3.7% of the leaders are women, and but that is something that I think is worthy of note.
Edric.
Yes, Webo, let me just do a little house clearing or cleaning. Last week I mentioned in the show that the physical space of the United States is greater than that of China's. And I would say this, that in my library I have that information. United States physical size is 3,997,000 square miles. China is 3,907,000 square miles. If you understand simple math, you would know exactly that the United States, based on the information I gave you, is larger than China. And you don't have to come to my library to ascertain the information, but you can go and Google, which if you have a smartphone, you'll be able to get the information there. The GDP of China is $12 trillion, and the GDP of the United States of America is 19 trillion, approaching $20 trillion. If you go on Google, you would get the information, and the information would obviously be up to maybe 2017. But don't take my word for it. You don't want to come to my library, which might be outdated, but you can go on Google, access Google, and you'll get the information. 2, God's gift to the world, the greatest gift to the world by God is woman. And in that regard, we must revere them, respect them, adore them, and do everything in our power for the world with women and us, men, to be at a better place for all of us to exist. Thirdly, there was a racial comment by John Wayne, and sadly, it took that turn simply because people do not understand, as you brought to the fore the little paragraph you read in terms of symptoms and the cause. And the comment by the late John Wayne was that black people, until they can step up to the plate, be educated enough, and to become responsible enough, they must not really be given the reins to make certain decisions. I am just paraphrasing in my own words. But this happens not only to black people, but to every race on the face of the earth that might not have had the access to education to the extent where they're able to be civilized enough and ultimately be conscious enough to make certain decisions. And therefore, that comment is streamed across the United States and maybe across the world as being racist, and it was attributable to black people. We must have the intellect to understand when these comments are made and to make a decision as to where we are and how we must address it, and ultimately how we can defeat it. If we do not teach our children from an early stage as to how to approach life in later life, ultimately the problems that we are having with prisons, killings, all the ills of our society can be attached to the way children were brought up, and ultimately what they have inculcated, what adults have inculcated into these children. and as they are able to make certain decisions based on the lack of proper guidance, we will always have these ills in our society. So in order to treat the real problem, we have to go back and in the adolescent stage and age, begin to train them the way they should go. That in the end, as the old adage says, they will be better citizens in our community. The two other points I want to bring to the fore, Weber, is the Leeward Island Debating Championship, which Nevis has again proven itself to be the victor and has vanquished all of its opponents. Nevis people are smart people. Therefore, based on preparations, whether at the primary level or maybe in the kindergarten level, primary level, and the secondary level, and by extension, the sixth form college, those debaters were well prepared, well groomed, and they brought home the trophy. The next point I want to bring, and I hope that we would have some participation from the listening audience, is that the track and field for the Charlestown Secondary School would be held on Sunday. I do not know what the metrics are with reference to the number of people they expect to attend the track and field or the sports day of Charlestown Secondary School at the Mondo track, I would believe. But at the same time, it is scheduled to be held on Sunday. We as a Christian society have always been urging our people, parents, guardians, priests, deacons, as the case might be, for us to bring the children to church on Sunday. And I think Sunday is not the best day to hold a track and field or to hold a sports day for Charlestown Secondary School. And therefore, we have to attempt to talk to maybe the Honorable Hugh Troy Liburd, who is the Minister responsible for education, and I think the Honorable Eric Evelyn, and Miss Unella Claxton, Zanella Claxton, who is the Chief Education Officer, and maybe to see how they could change the day from Sunday to another day, with the hope that we could still get the multitude of participants, contributors, supporters, as the case might be. But I think Sunday is not a good day because there are quite a number of teachers who may not want to come on a Sunday. Students may not want to come on a Sunday. And if there are, and not if there are, I'm certain that there are preachers who have their children that could be participating in that sport day event, who may not want their children to be attending that sports day on a Sunday. So I'm hoping that we would get some comment from the listening audience as to whether or not it was the right decision to hold the sports day for the Charlestown Secondary School this coming Sunday. Huevo.
Back in this episode of Thought That Get Results, Edric W. Stanley, Dr. Patricia Bartlett, Spencer Brand, the Honorable Spencer Brand will be back after these.
When VON vibrates, the whole Caribbean must shake.
8:60 a.m. The Powerhouse.
Okay, the Honorable Spencer Brand, let me first give you the opportunity. Dr. Bartlett had put something on, Edric had put a couple of issues on, whether or not you want to make any comment.
Well, I actually had the Leeward Island debating competition on my shortlist here. I want to join with Mr. Stanley in congratulating the Nevis Literary and Debating Society for completing the triple. I thought that they did a remarkable job defending their crown in against Antigua over the weekend. They had, in my mind, a good understanding of the topic that they sought to debate, and I felt that they delivered themselves exceptionally well. Repeat. I thought that it shows, Weber, that our young people are, once they prepare themselves, they can achieve great things. And even though at times we tend to knock them at times, for one or two things that they may get themselves into, I think once they apply themselves, this is a clear indication that they can achieve great things. So I want to congratulate all of the debaters, all of the persons who were behind the scenes, the teachers, the sponsors, for ensuring that they were comfortable and ensuring that they were well prepared, and also ensuring that they were able to capture this championship for the third time in a row. I also, Weber, want to join with Dr. Bartlett in encouraging our women and celebrating our women, especially in our International Women's Day on this week, Friday, March 8th. I believe that while all of us would at times agree that there are still quite some distance to go for our ladies, I believe that they would have achieved much over the years. And, there are still ways in which they can achieve great things. So I want to wish them happy International Women's Day, and I want to say to them that the sky is the limit. I think once they put their hands up, they can certainly achieve whatever they put their minds to. So I want to wish them happy International Women's Day, and I want to encourage them, because I believe that this is a partnership between both men and women. I don't believe that men can achieve anything without women, and I don't believe that women can achieve anything without men. I believe that it's a partnership, hand in hand. Together we can achieve much together. So while we strive to ensure that our women are given the opportunity to be in certain position, I believe that once they put themselves to it and once they apply themselves, they certainly can achieve whatever they intend to put their mind to. Well, Mr. Stanley put on the table this matter of the sports on Sunday, and I'm not certain if it might be a done deal already, Mr. Stanley.
The time has not arrived. But you continue with your comment. I'm just saying the time has not yet arrived.
I'm finished. Okay.
The time has not yet arrived. And I believe that the metrics, sure, maybe they have gotten some feedback as to what the numbers would be on a Sunday as compared to a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, as the case might be. And as a result, the numbers might be one metric by which it is measured, and consequently, the decision might have been predicated on that. I can't tell you. But I'm just looking at it from the standpoint that Sunday is a day when we all who are Sunday worshippers look forward to going to church, including taking those children that we can get to church with us, because it is a tall order to get our children to attend church on Sunday. But those who are attending, if they would be participating in this sports day, then you've got, or we have, a certain interest on the one hand for them to be in church, and a certain interest on the other hand for them to be at the sports day, including their parents. And if for some reason it's a day which we believe should not be utilized for that purpose, and another day could be substituted for that purpose, it is only fair, right, and proper for us to go back to the drawing board, make the comparisons, and ultimately the decision, which is, of course, we have hard choices, but to clearly make a determination is as to whether or not that day has been the best day to hold the sport event for Charlestown Secondary School.
Webo, you know, Stanley and I enjoy, we enjoy this kind of little thing between us. But I really support Mr. Stanley on this one. And that is not often, Stanley and I don't see eye to eye a lot. But just today I brought it up at the office and I was like, I don't understand. We're not consistent. If we are complaining on the one hand that children are not going to Sunday school, children are not going to church, why are we creating avenues for distraction, or as Stanley put it, for competing, events on that same day? And not only Sunday, because Stanley said, well, we are all Christians, but Christians don't all worship on Sundays, they worship on Saturday as well. As far as I'm concerned, Saturday and Sunday are dedicated to those extracurricular activities. And outside of school, that, would, the sports, I think you should keep it within the framework of the school. I don't think you should be now extending it. I don't agree either. But Stanley and I have been around here long enough now to understand that when people around here make decisions, it don't make no difference what you and I say. They ain't gonna change it, ever. And that is so unfortunate. And sometimes I encourage people, we need to start to get organized, because I would say something and they get upset with me. And then, I bear the consequences of whatever it is. Stanley would say it. I mean, they can't, do Stanley anything. And a few people would say things, but it's not making any impact, even though sometimes you say things that represent the views of a lot of people. And I've been trying to articulate this view for a long time, that people need to get organized. As a community, I don't find that we are organized enough to make representation on the issues that really mean something to us. I've long been saying things like, get a petition going, So, Stanley feels strongly about it. I think he should get a petition going. Only a few people would call in tonight, if any, to hear their views about it. But like I said, in the interactions that I've had so far on the issue, I find that an overwhelming number of people, share that view. And I'm like, why sometimes people make decisions without necessarily consulting with, the people who it's going to affect, and like I said, we have to be consistent. We can't on the one hand say children are not going to school, going to church and Sunday school, and then on the next hand we're going to schedule sports, or we're going to schedule other activities. That does not seem consistent to me. And while I have the mic, I would really like to join the Honorable Spencer Brand and Mr. Stanley again in congratulating the debating team. I just heard just a little snippet of it, but I was impressed. I think, we have potential here, and ladies, trust me, they're good. And I must commend the ladies who participated there. Well, of course, the guy was good as well. And congratulations to the Nevis team. Three-peat is not an easy feat, and I'm hoping that next year we'll be able to four-peat and then five-peat, and I want us to go into perpetuity, just doing well, because there's not a lot that we see that we can celebrate in young people these days, because most of the time the focus, is on crime, which is so unfortunate. And Webo, I know you brought the first thing out of business that you had on your desk tonight about the passage that you read. For a long time now we've been saying the same thing, but like I said, nobody would ever listen, because I've always said, why is it we're going to try to tackle a problem and we're not trying to find out what is the cause of the problem? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in any arena, not even if you're going to go and something is wrong with your car. If you don't find out what it is, you'll be buying a lot of expensive parts, and the car might run for a little while and then shut down. So we have to get to the bottom of things, and we have to be able to apply logical progression in sorting things out in the community.
Dr. Bartlett, is it possible, you just mentioned, why is it is it possible we know the cause, right? But we just, for one reason or the other, don't have the courage to apply it. Because sometimes I believe we do know what the root cause of the problem is. But I keep using the word all the time. Do we have the term, do we have the courage? And even as you were making reference to the other issue where you were talking about, you talk to a lot of people and they seemingly overwhelmingly are of a particular view. But at the end of the day, they're not going to sign the petition because they probably will tell you, well, people will know my signature or don't know my name. So the question that I'm asking is it possible that we really well know or do know what is necessary, but the question is, do we have the courage to do it?
Maybe we don't, have enough of us with the courage, but I think we should continue to do what we can. If you're in a position, where you can, then you should. Sometimes people, I don't know why you would know the cause of a problem and still just put a Band-Aid on it. That doesn't make sense if you're genuinely interested in, addressing the problem. But sometimes I just want to chalk it up to ignorance and say, well, they really don't know what the cause is, so that's why they're not addressing it. But the thing is, if you go systematically, in a way to solve a problem, you're going to have to define what the problem is. You're going to have to find out what the cause of the problem is, and then you'll have to address it. Because, like I said, you just can't be throwing antibiotics, to viral infection. That doesn't make any sense,
But Dr. Badu, let me be a little more specific. You don't think that we are aware that the surveillance cameras by now are not not solving it? That locking up people, well, in most cases we can't even get them to lock them up, but that's not working either, etc., etc. You don't think by now we, as the passage said, that we are well aware, and when I say we, the persons who are in authority, because those are the ones who you'll argue will have to make the certain decisions. So you don't think that we are aware of it, no?
Well, I would not necessarily agree that a combination of things can't help to address, the problem. But sometimes if you don't get to the root cause of the problem, because there's nothing wrong.
Well, in a sense, that's what I'm asking, Dr. Batty. You don't think we know the root cause of the problem? That's.
Sometimes like I said, to give someone the benefit of the doubt, it can't be that you know what the cause of the problem is and just doing all these other things that just will make us feel good.
Mm-hmm. Edric, you don't think
we know?
Okay.
We know the root cause of the problem.
Mr. Brand, you don't think we know?
I believe we do, Webu. I think that we generally have some ideas as to
okay,
what
so then the both of you, because Dr. Bartlett says, well, she's not sure. So the both of you are very certain. So then I'm going to go a little further. So then if we know the root cause of the problem, why are we not hitting the root?
We have been trying, because there's a program on Vaughan Radio, parenting, and that hits right at the root of the problem. But not every child will adhere to or accept or inculcate, learn, and follow the teachings that are aired or the recommendations that are aired. It comes over on Tuesday morning, I think.
Yeah, but let me ask you that. Is it possible that you can have a teacher who has a particular textbook and is teaching a particular class and the students keep failing? It happens all the time. And then you take the same textbook, you take the same students, and then you use Mr. Brand. And then you get it. Is that possible?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. But what I'm saying to you is that we know what the cause of the problem is. We know.
So what is the cause?
The cause is those children are not listening, and therefore we have to find a way of reaching. No,
I just gave you a possible way. That's
they've
not
taken
a.
out, they've
That's,
taken out beating.
but I just gave you a possible way. That's not possible. That's not a possible way.
Every recommendation is accepted, Webo.
But
But beating has been taken off the table. The teacher can no longer beat a child in school. And we know that that beating works. Or it worked. Let me use the past tense. In the home, you've got two parents. And one says, don't hit the child. Or sometimes the wife would say, or the girlfriend would say, don't hit my child, when the child belongs to both of you. And that creates a problem, where the child realizes that on the one hand, I have somebody in my corner, and on the other hand, I have the villain in the other corner, or the other villain is in the other corner. And therefore, those who will defend me, I will continue to err on that side. And I'm not going to listen, and I'm not going to do what they say. But we know that goes back to the Bible. You spare the rod, and you spoil the child. And we know there are children who, in fact, got straightened out because of the rod. But here, you attempt to child abuse. Everybody else, child abuse.
okay, let me just take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding. Good evening. You're on the air.
Good evening. I'm just calling to make an input on the CSS having their sports day on Sunday. And good night to all the panelists.
Good night.
I don't think I personally wouldn't make it a big issue. And them having it, if they already have it planned for Sunday, but in future if they want to make it a habit. So I would disagree to that, but like if they already have it planned for Sunday, I wouldn't ask them to change. But I just want to know what's your view on what I have just said.
What happens if we were to get, God forbid, a giant storm on Sunday? Saturday night, based on what the weatherman says, that a storm is approaching us with a certain degree of ferocity. What do you think will happen?
Okay, well, they will have to call it off.
Exactly. So,
since okay, well, with the exception of the storm,
it is a situation, and I just brought that to the fore to shock you into understanding there is a way to change.
Yes, I understand, and I agree with you.
There was a
Mr.
painter
Stanley.
who painted a nice mural, and he was so taken up in awe of what he painted. But he was on a very tall scaffold, and sure enough, he was backing up to view, and somebody realized the danger he was in, and they took a bucket of paint and just dashed it over it, and he ran forward. He saved his life. He was angry. I'm just saying you that these are instances through which things could be changed.
Okay,
The storm that I brought to the fore
I'm going to get
is
off
on the
the
one
line.
hand. The decision makers can put factors in place in lieu of a storm. You've got a certain segment of the community that does not agree with it and therefore change the day. It has not happened yet. They've got another 5 days to make the decision. What would be utilizing that day on the 11th or the 12th or the 13th, or bring it back closer. But give yourself more time. 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and you go forward. I'm just saying that that day is critically important to those children who are church going, and therefore I think they should change it.
What about the typical woman? You see, that's how we are. We kind of like to compromise. We kind of like to, negotiate. And the position that she advanced, I support it. It's not set in stone necessarily. I don't think it should, continue going forward. We all try, experiments sometimes that just don't work. I'm not so sure. We might be even in the majority, maybe Stanley and I are just old-fashioned. I don't know. I don't know if Brian has a problem with it. Maybe they have other people who don't have a problem with it, and I don't know that if we are in the minority, those of us who have that view, that you ought not to be, have these competing interests on a Sunday with kids, then I would support, the position the lady advanced, have it this time, but don't bring it back to us, if enough people feel that way. But maybe the society has been evolving. Maybe we're at the stage now that people don't care too much about, Sunday or Saturday for that matter, because there's some people who worship on Saturdays. But it's not, having it Sunday and never again on a Sunday. I would support that.
Personally, Webo, I personally don't have a problem with it. My intention is to go to my Sunday morning worship, go home, have my lunch, and rest for a while, and then go and watch the sports. That is me. I personally, like I said, I personally don't have an issue with it. I will go to my church, as usual, for 9 o'clock, and then I would have my Sunday lunch and cool off a bit, and then go and catch in some of the sports.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Hi, good evening. Mr. Byrne, I'm surprised that you support that idea. I don't support it.
I say I don't have a problem with it, caller.
Me just to tell you how me feel.
Oh, sure.
Because we all are church-going people. When we finish, that's the only time that we have time with our family. That's when families sit, go by each other, sit down and eat, and you spend time after church. It's a hectic time, and I agree with it. I don't support it at all. I was thinking about it and thinking about it all along, and I cannot get it for them. I cannot get it for them. I don't know who idea it was or whatever it is. But you must remember, I'm going to say something, and no, you don't cut me with that one. It's something similar. They had teachers and Adventists for Charleston Secondary School, and the thing is an Adventist, the thing of the minister in for education is Adventist. So why should we choose subdued? Why don't keep it on a Saturday then? Sunday's a holy day. I ain't agree with it, Weber. Honestly, I ain't support it.
Might I ask a question, please? What rationale was put forward to have it on a Sunday? Is it they're figuring maybe it's more logistical for the school? Is it that maybe they figure the attendance will be better? What? Were they...
I brought to the fore the metrics, and I said, just maybe, but I don't have the hard data to support my point in that regard. But on a Sunday, people would not be working like working for government. The civil servants would not be working, and that's a large number of people. But at the same time, people would have time off on Sunday to do other things. But in my view, other than that metric, in terms of the number of people who might turn up on Sunday as compared to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as the case might be, as well, it may not make a difference in terms of the numbers. The dynamics might be the same.
Right, that's why I was asking what
are they possible. I didn't even take into consideration that as the caller mentioned, the principal is a seventh day, and the minister is seventh day. I didn't take that into consideration. I'm just saying there are children who would go to church on Sunday, and there might be teachers and some of the people who would have to work beginning early in the morning to get things in place for the thing to be completely organized for the event to come off. So even Mr. Brown has taken the position that he would go to church and then he would go home, get his rest, and then eventually would attend this. Doesn't mean that he would be out there bringing a bucket of ice, as the case might be, or putting in place certain things to ensure that the spectators would be comfortable, as the case might be.
It never used to be on a Sunday, correct?
Based on what I know.
Okay. Is it possible that before this decision was made to change it, that there was a debate where the pros and cons of doing it on a Sunday as opposed to another day? Is it possible that that was done?
It's possible, but
And maybe...
not in the public worldwide. We got it now on Vaughan Radio, and it's being aired.
Yeah, but from when in the public worldwide that a school function or event is determined there? Normally, don't they determine these things at a school level, either at the teachers or parent-teachers meeting and so on and so forth?
Quite so, but
Okay.
you know, there are one-offs and so on.
So
And
this is the one-off?
Well, let's not put it that way.
Good evening. No, I'm just, good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening. I was listening to your session, and it's very interesting. I have a comment to make.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, I am a parent, and I have kids that go to Charleston Secondary School. No, I do not object to having the sports on a Sunday. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. But what I find so amazing is that when they have inter-high in St. Kitts, the majority of people that fill up that stadium and division on a Sunday. On a Sunday. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Let me get a break. This is Thought That Get Results with Edric W. Stanley, the Honorable Spencer Brand, Dr. Patricia Bartlett. Your phone calls are on 1-869-469-1616 and 1700. We'll be back after these.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. They have got over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Oh, and remember, they are open all day Saturday to serve you better. Builders Paradise, located at CAP Southwell Industrial Park, St. Kitts. Call them today at 466-4938.
Back on this episode of Thought That Get Results with Dr. Patricia Bartlett, Edric W. Stanley, and the Honorable Spencer Brand. Your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 and 1700. Let me give another plug quickly to the fact that we have in our possession a lady's purse with some contents in it. It was found last Thursday or Friday, I think. Please, if you lost a purse, please come. We'll be happy to hand it over to you. It was found in the area of Charlestown, close to between Buddy's restaurant and the Main Street supermarket area, former food center, I think it is now, or something, you know, in that area. And we have it safe and secure for you. We're encouraging you to help us to find the owner of it. Ask your friend whether or not they lost their purse and so on. Just do it to 1 or 2 or 3 people, and I'm sure that if we do it that way, we'll get that solved. Right? Okay. Edric, yes.
Well, let's go international web. I was just taken aback with the volume of information that Trump lawyer brought to the fore and dumped on Trump. In terms of the type of person Trump is. And to be honest, it was glaringly seen from get-go as to whom this man is, and yet those people still went and elected him. And I must say that I felt that what his lawyer brought to the fore regarding his being a racist, a con man, a cheat, and everything, I was completely knocked off my stool regarding all that information. Now,
And the check.
the fellow said that he's going to serve jail time. And they try to hammer him with regard to it. Well, you're just as Trump. You're just as bad as Trump has been. And therefore, you can't come here to tell us how bad Trump is when you are just as bad. But I felt that the fellow came clean. He came clean, of course. I think maybe also he sees the big money that is going to come out of a movie or a book deal, as the case might be. And therefore, he had no reason not to go and dump all he did on Trump. You understand me? But it was quite revealing with reference to all that information that he spat out.
You felt he came clean, but Trump said that he is more lies.
Well, Trump is trying to save his own skin. And as a result, his word, he's trying against Cohen's words. And I'm just saying that I believe what Cohen said at that committee hearing, because he couldn't manufacture all those as lies.
But how much difference you think, though, it will make? Because
it's going to make a big difference.
Against the backdrop that Trump has been running from they started, 2015, right? The campaign. Because the election was 2016, and they would have started before, just like how they started now for election next year.
Well, he said he
right?
started a long time before 2011.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that they had so many things come up against Trump, but he's still there. So that's why I was asking you how much difference you think that this stuff will make.
You cannot compare apples and oranges. It's like apples and oranges. What I'm saying, what I mean by that is that you now have the Oversight Committee, Congressional Oversight Committee, the Judiciary Committee, and those are two committees from a constitutional standpoint can bring Trump to his knees once they find enough information, evidential information, legal enough to ensure that Trump has committed a crime. And once he has committed a crime, he can be canned. And I think they're going after him and he will be canned. He's looking at his poll numbers with the hope that those people who are foolish enough to elect him and still have him there, that is more or less what he is counting on to keep him there. Those same people are his Achilles' heel if they were to crumble. But they're not turning, simply because of other dynamic factors, racism, or he's going to make America great again, and all the other things. And they're not turning, they're not changing. And consequently, Trump's still out there attempting to fool by saying, oh, well, you know, I was trying to make a joke of all this. But we know he wasn't making a joke. It was Rubio who called him a con man from day one. And we know George 41 Bush never voted for a Democrat in the past, but he did for Hillary this time. And that spoke volumes. So, based on what we are seeing and hearing, I believe they will ultimately get Trump. I'm not going to say that he would be. Well, they're going after impeachment, but they're not there yet.
Would you say, Mr. Stanley, that the Cohen testimony had a great effect on you?
Not necessarily, but I believe what the guy said.
The reason why I asked that is because I'm sitting here listening in awe, because this is the most forceful that I've heard you come out against Trump.
That's not true, Webo.
Is that true that's the most that I have heard of you?
Well, I would say that you're being a little generous, because you have a barometer by which you measure. And I could tell you, you have not brought out that barometer now, and it was out before. That's my assessment. And my assessment is not off the scale.
What I said was...
I heard you loudly, but repeat.
Okay. I got you. Mr. Brand, you wanted to make a comment?
Well, Mr. Stanley, I've gone international. I want to bring us back regionally. The layout matter have been on the lips of regional leaders once again, and there's a lot of chatter about exactly what they plan to do with layout. One of the things, Webo, that a number of regional leaders are suggesting that additional monies must be injected into layout, but at the same time, layout must really come up with a serious plan to show that they can turn this airline around. I mean, I've looked at an airline ticket for layout, I think might have been 2 or 3 weeks ago. And what I've noticed is that the price of the layout ticket, the flight for layout itself, the layout cost for the ticket, is not really expensive. The problem you have airport fees, you have maintenance fees, you have almost 8 or 10 different fees on the ticket that push the price of the ticket. And a lot of these governments throughout the region are the ones who are really, really making the money off of layout. And the money itself is not necessarily going back into layout. The cost of the layout ticket is not expensive. The problem is you have all kind of fees, all kind of maintenance fees, taxes, and all kind of things. And then by the time it's done, the ticket balloon to the price. But they are having a look at what they must do with layout. I would hope that once they are looking at what they are doing with layout, they must also look, Webo, at some of these fees and charges and so on that they're putting on the layout ticket, because I think that would help a great deal in ensuring that layout survives.
Good observation, and that has been the case now for a lot of years. And as layout struggled, no one wants to put anything extra in, because I think even our good Prime Minister would have said that he's not going to be injecting anything into layout. There are some territories, obviously, who think that they benefit more, and it's within the interest of places like Antigua and Barbados, to continue, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But as they start giving away these airports, I don't know that it's necessarily going to change. But I think we have to get serious about regional transportation. And we have to be consistent, and I think that is what is lacking, I think, in most of the policies that we embark on. Even here, we're not consistent, and Brand don't get, upset about it, but we're not consistent. We are complaining that the airport is losing money, and then what do? We build a pier that would facilitate people using the airport and sink it even more so. So I don't know how consistent that is. If you have a transportation, you must decide, what it is you want, where you want to go, and then put your money in it. And so it's interesting, the situation with layout. It's not likely to change. It has been the same situation for a long time. It has just been brewing, and places that have suffered are really the smaller, territories like Nevis. Layout doesn't even stop by us anymore. Montserrat, smaller territories don't benefit from layout, and so they're not likely to want to support, the carrier, and it's really just limited to most of the Leeward Islands, because Jamaica, they have bigger airlines, and Trinidad, they have big airlines going there. So it's really a conundrum, I think, as it relates to regional transportation. But from time to time, you'll hear they have these plans, for...
Dr. Bartlett, let me just interrupt you a second, take this and come back to you. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Hey, good night. I would like to say congratulations to my Nevis team, right? For Bang Antigua.
Okay. Go ahead, Dr. Bartley.
Yes, like I said, I think when regional, leaders get together, they have to be able to trash out these things, in a logical way. But everybody seems to just be pulling for them, and whatever is, in their best interest, instead of looking at it as a regional thing, because really, it's a regional, carrier. We should all be, supporting it. But the things that we've been doing, just goes contrary to the spirit of, support. We're not all pulling our weights, and that is the problem. We're just talking regionalization, but we're not doing enough, to really promote it. And that holds true for a lot of things, that happens. Even as it relates to food security in the region, we are struggling, and instead of the regional leaders getting together and say, well, let's see who has the comparative advantage to produce certain things and let them do that. Why are we here in Nevis trying to force the issue to try to produce bananas and trying to keep Dominican bananas out? Why not let bananas grow in Dominique and something else grow in Nevis that, we better, have a comparative advantage to produce? So I just find that it's selfishness, I find, to a large extent for a lot of the islands, and until we really start looking at the region as one common space and one common people, all the actions that we take going to continue to be, these individual, selfish, actions that we take that don't benefit us all as a people at the end of it.
Well, I would say that people may not understand the airline industry. When I say people, I mean all people in the region. When you look at the airline industry, it has never been a profitable industry. When these aircrafts are new, they make some money. Once the aircrafts become older, it calls back for that money which had been made in the front, and therefore they don't really make money. And you can look at how many airlines, primarily, let me go back to our big sister, the great nation of the United States. Transworld Airways, gone. Braniff, gone. Pan American, gone. Eastern Airlines, gone. Regionally, we had an airline known as Caribbean, it's gone. Had another airline known as Premier, gone. The reason for that is they never made enough money to stay afloat, and consequently, you have to look at other factors. The main factor that should be viewed and brought to the fore is the safety aspect in that facet of transportation. We haven't had, based on my memory, any, maybe one accident, if I would be generous, with Liat. But Liat has been a very safe carrier throughout its time serving the region. And thus, the money factor should not be prominent with reference to profit in our regional carrier. Hence, all the players should step up to the plate and make their contribution. Those who are getting a certain amount out of it, when you compare the whole thing, Antigua is getting a lot out of it simply because I think it is based in Antigua, and it does have that cadre of people with reference to employment. St. Kitts Nevis, we got very little out of it from that facet of that industry. It's no longer serving us in terms of touching down in Nevis. And does it still touch down in St. Kitts?
Yeah.
Okay. But again, our focus must be turned to or on the safety aspect of that carrier. And hence, it must be subsidized heavily for that purpose by all the member states where LIAT serves. So until they come to realize that they will not make a profit out of LIAT, but our passengers are safe, we have no accident, and ultimately it serves maybe Barbados and Antigua, then let us be satisfied with that. Make a comparison with those airlines that I've just mentioned that were here and they're no longer here, and to figure out why they're no longer here. They're no longer here simply because it was not profitable to keep them flying. And as a result, LIAT is still flying. And all the leaders of the Caribbean must come together and make that determination that we cannot hold LIAT responsible for a profit, but rather safe transportation or a carrier that served our region throughout these many years and will continue to serve our region in a safe manner. And that is the premium. That's the price from which we get. Our people are safe once they get on LIAT. And we can rest assured, if they follow the manufacturer's warranty, aviation flight rules, they will always fly a safe airline. Maintenance costs will always be there. Employee costs, in terms of salaries, pension, as the case might be, will always be there. But those are not the main factor. The main factor is that we've got an airline that serves the region, and they have served it in a safe manner over a long period of time, and we have to look forward with reference to that kind of safety record. You make the comparison with other airlines in terms of that record, and it is somewhat unmatchable. Webo.
So your recommendation is that you allow LIAT to continue to operate and you give them a grant of X amount every year.
That's true.
And then maybe added on to that, lower the price so that more people can travel and so on. And then it will, and then also it serve all the islands as opposed to, that's your recommendation.
That's my recommendation.
And notwithstanding the basically tell where we don't have the money.
They can find the money.
Okay.
Safety, life. And you've got commerce. A lot is still involved because there are spin-offs that would come from the commerce. LIAT carries people. LIAT carries packages, as the case might be. You have to make a complete comparison. And then with that complete comparison, you'll begin to zero in on the negatives and the positives and truly determine, you can then truly determine which of those positives you would put at the top of the pyramid. Safety first, your people and lives first. Accidents, practically non-existent. And again, if you make a comparison with the other airlines, with reference to accidents, of course, an airline is much safer. An airplane is much safer than an automobile. So in that regard, the onus must be placed on safety and the longevity of the carrier serving the region, and ultimately the lives of our people.
So that's how you would counter after making your presentation when they basically said, but we don't have the money.
They got the money, Webo.
Oh, you will tell them they have the money.
They have
Dr.
the money.
Ba-
What I'm trying to tell you, a fellow gets into an accident now, and he has to be flown out. under normal circumstances, $40,000 wouldn't be raised. But because of the emergency, because of the importance of that life to be saved, you would find people who would come on board to make the contribution just to ensure that this patient is flown out, as the case might be. It may not happen in the timeline that is fully required, but what I'm saying is that amount would be generated much faster if they understand the factor of safety, longevity, and ultimately the lives saved. They will find the money. The money is there.
Well, Paul, just to reiterate what Mr. Van would have said, and I support, I think that Caribbean leaders have to start, not being so selfish. It requires, Liat is struggling. Mr. Brand would have pointed out to you that most of the ticket prices itself is not that expensive, because I personally have bought tickets on, and by the time they put the taxes on, they give you a base price, and by the time the taxes and the fees go on, it just balloons. It almost triples what the initial base price would have been, and that is ridiculous. People need to scale back on their expectations and what they want. They're milking. I mean, that's why you don't have that much as it relates to interregional travel. I would sooner go for a vacation to Miami because it is so much cheaper for me to get an American Airlines and go to Miami than to go and visit my friends in Barbados. It's just ridiculous, the price of interregional travel. And the problem that we've had, because it's a small market, and there's not enough promotion of it either. We're not even visiting, as it seems nowadays anyway, because we're not even visiting our own people across the waters to go to St. Kitts to visit anyway, family and stuff like that. So I don't know if enough is being done to integrate the peoples of, the various islands, island nations here. To support, that kind of travel, that kind of buoyant kind of traveling that people used to do. People used to do it a long time, but then again, it was a little cheaper, to travel. So it is about time that they reconsider the fees, at least give Liat a little break on the fees, because they're still expecting Liat to do better. And until it does better, they're not going to want to put any money in. So it's a catch, what do you call it, catch-22 situation. Chicken and eggs kind of thing. They're not going to put any money in because Liat is not doing good, and Liat can't do good because they're not putting in any money. So it's just ridiculous for them to expect that Liat would continue, and it is a headache. And I recognize the last time I traveled on Liat, I was so impressed. They were on time, the service was good, and so they're doing that part of it. And I don't know that the issue of safety is necessarily the overriding, or the, issue here. But still, I think they need, when they convene, they need to seriously think about facilitating the people traveling between the islands, because this is not easy, and so for that reason, Liat is not going to get the kind of, patronage that it probably deserves. Because if I can go to St. Martin on Winier, I probably would go on Winier, because it's a little cheaper, because the Dutch probably extracting a little less, from Winier, so the flight might be a little cheaper, because people always want to be able to stretch their dollar.
Well, I believe that we are all in agreement that Liat would have had what I would call an impeccable safety record over the years, and they would have been operating under, in my estimation, some strenuous circumstance. They would have invested in the last few years in a new fleet of aircraft, and while they basically, you can say, almost have the market for themselves to a great extent, they still seem to be somewhat handicapped in what I would call increasing their prices. Because when I look at the ticket price, let's say, for example, they were to increase their ticket by, let's say, 10%, then automatically everything else added on, and then the price becomes but with Mr. Stanley's point that they can't find the money and the money is available. We are hoping, Webo, that that would be the case, because I believe that LEAT would have served the region extremely well over the years. They would have done yeoman service for the people of the Caribbean, even though that they would have dropped a number of routes over the years because of the increase in the size of the aircraft. And I think that that was all a part of their plan to try and streamline the airline and see if they can turn their financial situation around. But something, the bottom line, Webo, is an injection of real major investment in LEAT, and there is a clarion call for that to happen. A number of the regional governments are indicating that they would, and we hope that we will see a turnaround for LEAT.
But isn't it true that that model has been used in the Caribbean in a lot of other different areas, and it has not really been very successful? The Caribbean media, Kana, and so on, what they do, they would put some grants in, and they would get some great experts from the Caribbean to, you know, work and run it and stuff like that. And then when the grants are finished, then they need some more grants.
Yeah.
We're not good about paying our bills, because I think CARICOM is true.
Well, that's interesting, Dr. Badit, because maybe about a year ago, we had, in that point you made about good at paying our bills, we were passing some laws to make sure that when we don't pay our bills, nothing happens. So maybe that's a catch-23, but that's just a light moment. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, even at CARICOM level, there's some of us who are, well, I say some of us mean in the community meaning the individual island states, that have not been paying their bills, you know, and at the UE, we have had the same problem, you know, people are not paying their bills. It's just the other day, you had a couple of Caribbean countries that couldn't vote at the UN because they didn't pay their bills, and that is so embarrassing. I mean, if you want to participate in, you know, on the regional scene, international scene, there are commitments that you make. If you decide that you're going to be independent, there's certain things that you want to be a part of, you have to be able to, you know, you pay your bills, or else you're going to get excluded. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes I think, you know, the way you see governments spend money around here sometimes, like, why don't we sit down and prioritize, you know, if we really want to be a part of the UN and have a voice, make sure we pay our bills. And it just seems like it's kind of getting endemic around the place now, that people just don't want to pay the bills.
But isn't that a way of life, though? For
bad habit. Bad habit.
It's a bad
right.
No,
bad habit.
But it's a bad habit which is very popular.
I mean popular. You mean it's very frequent.
Well,
popular means nice, you know. Popular means good. But that's really bad, Webo. So don't say it's popular.
Okay, frequent.
It's frequent.
Okay.
You understand me?
Yeah.
Which is bad. People must learn to pay their bill. You have.
But why would you do that if you're getting accommodation by suggesting if you don't pay, well, nothing will happen?
Look, I mean, nothing will happen. There are consequences. There are consequences. There are people who don't pay their bill, and there are consequences. I was at a particular place, and a fella called for a particular commodity, and he was told as to how he must pay. And for some reason, he just has not paid in the past and doesn't want to accept the procedure and how he should pay, and still expects to get the commodity.
Did he get it?
He can't get it. He got to go cook and... well, I'm trying to let it cut out of the bag. He got to cook on 3 stones. He can't get any cooking gas if he doesn't pay. You understand where I'm coming from? People got bad habits when it comes to paying. And some of them are around here.
Some of them are around here?
Oh, yes.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good night, Evo. I like to speak. Thank you.
Some of them are around here?
Oh, yes. Well, Webber, you asked the question in a very coy way, but you
What?
are fully aware.
What's a coy way?
Meaning that you are attempting to disbelieve what I'm saying. So I'm trying to tell you, there's no question about it. A lot of them around here, they think they can get away with it without paying. And the piper must be paid for each tune. And when the piper comes to collect, if you don't pay, you know you will not get another tune. But some people attempt to blame the piper for not playing. But the piper says you have to pay to play.
But on a more serious note, though, is it not a way of life that we really practice in terms of, you know?
Well, it is part of our culture.
Okay.
But my mother told me as a little boy, Edric, if you come and when you come and pay your bill, pay who you owe.
What
the reason for that
is there a
that
particular reason why
right.
she had to tell you that?
Right, because
you will get
my
forming
mother,
the habit of
no, my mother never always had it, but she would say, go down to so and tell them send me so. And we say, Mama, me now go because you know you trust. And he said, boy, I pay my bill and you go. So I went and I got. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, but the question I asked you was there a reason why she had to tell you, point that out to you? Was it that you were forming a habit?
No, I was a little boy, so I had no way of getting involved in commerce and credit. But she was like, again, train up a child the way he should go, that when he becomes older, he doesn't depart. And that's how I operate.
So it's not that...
There are several people who try to double bill me, you know. They got paid already and they still want to double bill me. And one of them I had to tell, he gave me an envelope. So I said, boy, that's nice that I got a check in this envelope. He said, check, Mr. Stanley, open the envelope. Let me open it. It's a bill. So I was furious. So I said, why is this a bill? He said, well, we don't tell them that you don't owe. I said, if you don't credit me and I don't credit from you, how could I owe you? He said, well, you don't tell them you don't owe. So I'm just saying to you that this is something that my mother instilled in me as a little boy. Pay your bill.
But based on what you are just telling me, the story you're telling me, you're going contrary to what your mother told you because you say you got a bill and you didn't want to pay it.
No, Webo. I'm just saying to you, the bill was paid already.
Oh, okay.
The bill was paid already. And because I don't credit, how can I have a bill? You already been paid. It doesn't happen one place, it happens several places. Simply because people think you got the ability to pay again. And if you don't have a system in place, accounting system in place to ensure that you already paid that bill. And there are quite a number of people who are run out of business simply because they pay twice, you know. Simply because they don't put the right accounting system in place to ensure that they have proper record. You understand me? But again, one of the best records to have, don't credit. So no, you don't owe. And therefore you would not be presented a bill. So anytime you presented a bill, readily you blow it out the water. How can I owe you when you don't credit me and I don't credit from you? But you know that goes on around here. Pointedly, Webo. You know a lot of that goes on around here.
Webo, we still on, we finished with the regional, or can I just interject something here? I realize there's a story that came out about Netanyahu, and it was so uplifting for me just because he had appointed an attorney general who is now investigating him and laying charges against him. And I kind of applaud that kind of democracy, the level of, of maturity of that particular democracy. Then in Canada, Chodo is going through the same issue because he has someone who he tried to get rid of because she wasn't, doing his bidding. as it relates to trying to pardon or not pursuing someone who was, not doing the right thing. And I'm wondering at what point, if we would ever get to that stage when we would start independently, appointing or voting, or electing our Attorney General. Because what I've been hearing within recent times, you have so many accusations, and I know that here we would have made a concession before. One party would say that the other side is, corrupt and this and that. And then the other party would, in opposition would say the same thing, and it goes back and forth, and we keep recycling the same people. But the system is not changing, so that these things don't keep recurring. And I would like to advocate and start being an advocate of that. I think that our Attorney General should, not that I'm accusing anybody presently or in the past as it is of any wrongdoing, but I'm saying, anticipating that we are all fallible people, we are human beings, and sometimes, we do things that, not necessarily, they may not be, necessarily the legal thing to do. Who is going to pursue those people, I'm hoping, and I would like to start advocating now, that we start looking at the position of Attorney General so that that office would have a level of independence, so that all these allegations on both sides, since they're not about to fix the system, to eliminate, this level of corruption that is always being tossed at one another, I'm putting on the table tonight, and I'm hoping that, we'll get enough people to weigh in on it. Isn't it about time that we had an Attorney General who would have been elected to office rather than being nominated? And so, of course, he'll have to turn a blind eye to, most of the things that are happening. I don't know if the parliamentarian here would, have a view on that.
It's something to consider. I mean,
Mr. Brown, let me just take this. I'll come back to you. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening. How are you? I just tuned into the program.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
I want to applaud the lady. Let's listen to her say something about the Attorney General. And these are the kind of things I'm talking about. We need people in position to represent the people. Here, as she said, in opposition we are corruption, government in power we are corruption, but nobody doing nothing. But the citizens are suffering. The citizens are being attacked. Nobody doing nothing. And I'm so happy. I want to congratulate the leaders debating people. And I'm so happy that I'm not talking about just the part where he talk about Sinkits, but the young fellow who had the courage to let the whole world know about the Caribbean and the whole situation in the Caribbean. I applaud that youngster so highly. Not just the Sinkits part where he talk about, but the whole, how we sum up that whole debate. And when he boiled down to the Sinkits part, it was very touching. And I'm happy that somebody is watching. We're not respecting the young people. They are listening and they are on the ball. But nobody wants, every week I call this program and nobody wants to listen. And I'm so happy that the lady tonight, I hear her said, that we need somebody to investigate our politicians. That's the problem I have in. And when you attack the citizens, how can we get representation? I mean, some weeks everybody laughing, I keep talking about my ID. But everybody have it to be a joke. Who is representing the citizens? We hear all kind of thing within government. When you're going after, you got the big stick to go after Douglas, to put him out of parliament. You go to Venezuela. I mean, when this thing is going to end? When we're going to have a proper country where people can take the bull by the horn, regardless of where you stand. You guys have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Brand.
Yeah, well, I think that the idea of having the Attorney General being an elected position is something that I believe would allow more transparency. It would allow the office a lot more freedom to carry out their mandate. I feel that sadly, once someone is appointed, then that person, rightly, wrongly, instead of them doing what they're really supposed to do, tend to be a little hesitant, so to speak, based on certain situation. But I believe that the position as an elected position would allow that person to function a lot more freer. You know, I believe it would eliminate some hesitation out of the office, and I believe it will strengthen our democracy as well. And it certainly would add some greater confidence in the system, and it is something that I believe that can be looked at, can be considered. You know, it is something that I think Weber, if that position is an elected position, then that office should not be at the whims and fancy of any individual. So it would be a good initiative, Weber.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yes, a pleasant good evening. I just want to let the caller know that he late. With what he's saying now, he late. He goes all around, not forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Brand, just a question to the point that you're making, and probably pointing out perhaps the pluses you may have if the Attorney General is an elected person. So let me give you a scenario. So the Attorney General becomes an elected position, and Mr. Stanley and yourself run for that office, and you were successful, and then it becomes necessary for you to open an investigation against Mr. Stanley. Is it likely he might, rightly or wrongly, pull the political card?
Well, obviously he would. I would think that he would want to try to pull that political card. But Weber, I believe that if the office itself, if the person who is in the office is independent, I think that what Dr. Bartlett is suggesting, that they want that position to be totally independent of the political system.
Apolitical.
Yeah.
But walk with me.
Yeah.
I'm talking about going to what you propose, and I use a specific example. You and Mr. Stanley ran for the same position, for the Attorney General.
Mm-hmm.
You said it should be an elected position. You prevail, Mr. Stanley loses, and then you find it necessary to investigate him. So I'm asking you, is it likely, rightly or wrongly, Mr. Stanley may well pull the political card, and then it seems as if it's not such a good thing for the Attorney General to be an elected position?
Yeah, but Weber, even if he seeks to pull the political card, the point that I'm trying to make is that the person who is in that office,
Mr. Brand,
yes,
must
be independent-minded, that he must be able to carry out his or her mandate.
So, in other words, once you make that position elected position, you'll also give the person who wins the seat or wins the election an independent mind. It comes with an independent mind.
Weber, if the person is not prepared to function independently, then we have a problem.
Then don't let him win. No, I'm being very serious and practical.
What's happening in the United States right now? With the Democratic Congress and Trump.
Going after him.
Right? Because until you have somebody who is truly steadfast in dishing out justice, being fair-minded, it makes no difference whether he is elected or appointed.
Okay. So you agree with that, Mr. Brand?
To some extent.
And what extent you don't?
Well, I believe that the person must be.
Should be.
Well, Stanley is saying should be. Well, I'm going to probably say should be. The person should be independent enough to go after Mr. Stanley if he feels that Mr. Stanley would have done something irregular.
So then the question I ask you then, so they cannot be independent enough if they are appointed?
Well, but the record often show that for some reason it doesn't appear so. If once they are appointed, sometimes people are appointed and they feel that they are obligated to the person who appointed them.
But of course,
you
that's
know.
the way it works.
In Canada,
Or else you would not last a day.
Yeah, you have that. You almost like you have that shadow over you, that you are obligated to this person, or you're obligated to this party, or you're obligated to this.
Well, let me ask you this. Why is it in all the elected positions that we have in different areas, how come we still keep complaining that we can't get the kind of results and service that we should get?
But I sometimes feel that persons who are elected, appointed in certain positions, for some reason they just hesitate about doing what they're supposed to do.
Even though they are elected?
Even though that they
But
are
then
elected.
that's what you're asking for. As if once you get elected, all of a sudden it comes with an independent mind with courage.
The case in Canada with the Attorney General resigning, to the dismay of Trudeau.
Trudeau appointed.
She was appointed, I mean, she's part of his cabinet, but she feels that something should have been done with this company. And therefore Trudeau is saying, no. The larger view is that people would be unemployed. A lot of people would be unemployed. And she's saying, well, regardless of who would be unemployed, justice must be served. And therefore, she felt that she has to live with her conscience, and she decided she going to resign, and she resigned.
She was pushed out.
Well, however you want to put it, the way I took it is that she felt that he did not want this company to be pulled into court, hauled into court, and to face the justice system.
Okay, let me just take this, Mr. Stanley, and get back to you. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Mr. Weber, this is the reason why we will never, and I keep saying for my life, we never work for no government. I mean, around these parties are difficult, very difficult. And I like the question you asked, you know, and that's the problem. People fail to take the bull by the horn. And as the guy is saying, I mean, I go to a government institution the other day, and you could tell the difference when you're in a government institution, when you're in a private institution, the behavior of the people in the government institution. I mean, they know they're working for the government, and they know the government's power. I mean, we have people on Facebook who actually high up at the moment in the government, but on Facebook in big positions where people have to go to deal with them. Put that on the Facebook page. I mean, you go in the government institution, in the office, and you see the behavior.
What do you mean they're on the Facebook page? You're not
on the Facebook page defending the government. I talk about people in high, okay, example, a man in the Labour Department, high up, but go on the Facebook page, you see him. How could I go to he as representation, even in my situation? Because people are not professional, Mr. Weber. And that's the point. That's what I'm saying all the time to you people. I work at the airport for 15 years, and not one complaint could say, when this man at the airport working, they had an issue with him at the airport. Never in history. 22 years I work for my company, nothing on my file. That's the point I'm saying all the time. And I work at the airport for 15 years, see all kind of management. Never been into a meeting because I'm a professional. What I'm saying to you, can everybody act professional? I go into the Labour Department there, they don't tell me. If the devil send you telling me I see me. In a government department, institution.
So that's a light moment.
No, but but it's a serious moment.
Yeah. So what you said she told you?
She said, I went in there and the lady said, go on this side. I said, Miss, okay, I'm standing. Oh, but go sit down. This is one lady. Then I left. She said, I had to go with another lady. I asked the lady for other lady name. She said, oh, me give you a name. If the devil send you telling you it's me. This is in a government institution.
Okay.
So I asked the other lady in the back, so she sent me to the secretary, and that's how I get the manager's number. But what can be done? You think Hartford and them other big companies, you could be able to let him down 4 seasons?
So she told you if the devil send you, tell the devil you ain't seen it.
Yeah.
No, I just found that kind of interesting.
So I'm saying, when are we going to be professional? Look at how some of them answer the phone. So I'm saying, the situation it is a serious situation.
But so then, the point is though, you're suggesting then that it speaks to either our culture or how we operate as a people.
No, it's not so much the culture. It's the when you're working for government, it's a different thing. It's even labor on the thing. If even labor in power, I'm not running from the fact. The fact is the fact. Me ain't trying to blame no government. I'm saying even labor in power. Some people feel the party in power, so they have no respect because there's no repercussion.
Okay.
If 4 seasons you behave like that, what do you think can happen?
All right. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, have a good
All right,
night.
Thank you. Yes. Hendrik, you ever heard that one before?
My mother always used it.
She told you that too?
Oh, yes.
Why would your mother tell you something like
Because
that?
let me tell you something. You can get a lot of quotations from the older heads.
Yeah, but I
and they're
understand.
correct.
You said your mother
Told me
told you that.
And
So why would your mother tell you? If the devil send you to look for me, tell him you ain't see me. Why would your mother have occasion to tell you that?
It's simply because all these quotes, it might have been a situation where I might have overheard it. And no, my mother didn't really tell me that. Yes, but I've heard her with that quote, and I've used it myself. I've used it too. You understand me? Because I had a
So
situation.
the truth is
Yes.
that your mother never told you that,
No,
but
she
you
never
heard
told
her
me
say
that.
it.
But I heard her.
But you have told people that.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. One situation I had to tell this person, tell the devil you don't see me.
Okay.
The devil send you, tell him you don't see me.
That's a good one. It's an interesting one.
The first time you're hearing it, Weber?
Well, first time I'm hearing it from you.
All right, well, is that the first time you ever heard it then?
No, but I just found it interesting. Why would your mother tell
No,
you
no, no,
that?
she-
But
she-
you clarified
yes,
it.
right.
And you
Yes,
heard her say
yes.
it. She didn't tell you.
No, I heard her with it. Yes, which is...
So maybe, and you would use that when people interfering with you too?
No, there was a particular situation, and
No, I mean in general. When can you use that term? For
Yeah,
instance,
yeah,
people is
because
always
there are people
people are
who are-
always harassing me. So
Right.
can I tell them that?
right, when you know that they are harassing you for an unkind purpose,
Yes. Just tell them
or
that.
an unreasonable purpose,
Yeah. Just tell them that.
tell the devil you didn't see me because the devil sent you.
Okay. All right.
That is what it meant. Somebody would
Okay.
come with a situation and they
So
would
if they keep harassing me, just tell them what? Tell the devil
that you didn't see me
you didn't see me.
because they know the truth.
Okay. I wrote it down so I, don't
noticed
forget
that. I
it.
noticed it right there.
Yeah.
So many nice quotations here from the older people.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I'm going to use that one because I don't know, for some reason people always harassing me.
Yeah,
I
the devil sent them.
The devil sent them.
Yeah.
Go back and tell him you didn't see me.
Right. And once you tell them that, they would
They'll get the
understand. They would get the message. And they would come clean. They would come clean. You were telling them, come clean, and therefore I don't have to mention that the devil sent you. But once you didn't come clean, it meant that you were sent by the devil.
This is Thought That Get Results. This program repeats tomorrow at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On The Mark. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, Thought That Get Results. You all have a wonderful evening.